Hello, you wonderful people. So for today's video, I want to talk about the teaser trailer that just came out at the time of me recording this for The Last of Us TV show on HBO. If you haven't seen it already, I'll include a link to it in the description down below. We'd gotten a previous trailer, but it was like a couple of seconds. This gave us a much better look at the show and everything, and it got me super pumped. I was even more excited than before. Some of the sequences I thought was kind of interesting. Obviously, we had like the opening sequence of The Last of Us when Tommy, Sarah, and Joel are escaping. You know, they're driving down in the car and stuff like that in the city, and we see in the trailer there's like a plane crash. I was like, wow, I don't think they went that far in the original show, but obviously I guess kind of implying like obviously even people that were in air were probably already infected, so of course planes would be crashing and stuff like that. Because I think the most we saw in the original was the first game was one in like a car crashes into like a gas tank and explodes. I think that's kind of like but there were a lot of explosion and a whole bunch of fire around and stuff like that. But some other interesting things that immediately stick out in my brain, like there was a scene where Ellie is running, and it looks like there was multiple people and it looked like it was, at first I was like, it looked like it could have been, I guess it's a vehicle with, cause we see in the trailer at one point there's a vehicle with like run spray painted on like the front of it in white. I'm assuming it's that same thing, which I'm immediately like, I saw other people, it looked like there might have been a little boy, so I'm wondering if that's like Henry and his brother. Like, is that when like because all you see in the sequence is them kind of spread out and then like Ellie's turn around shooting, and I'm wondering if that's what that's in reference to. Also saw Melanie Linsky in the trailer, and I'm like, who are you playing? I started running through the Rolodex of like, for one, I had no idea she was in the show, but I'm like, who could you be playing? Yes, it's an easy way to find out. Just probably look it up. Like, there's probably all that casting stuff out there. I don't want to know. It's a rhetorical question, but like I just say and let you know my thought process. I was like, who is she playing? I was like, not unless she's like, just like, there's no way she's like David. Is she like, not, let's say like gender swap David's character, but I'm like, no, I'm thinking that's probably like, she could be Tommy's wife. So that could be, you know, when Joel and Ellie meet up with Tommy in his home and everything. And we did see a whole bunch of people armed to the teeth behind her. I was like, well, we know that facility, we know where Tommy and them were spoilers, eventually get attacked. So that could be them, because I was like, yeah, they are armed, not unless they're just a group of people that Joel and Ellie cross paths with. Because like any of the people they met on a road, like David's the only like leader you ever really come across, and it seemed like she was in a position where she was a leader. So that's why I feel like either that's a group made specifically for the show, or she is like Tommy's wife, or like I said, she's a gender swapped David. There is one point in time we see like all you see is like red shoes and a chain, which I'm immediately like, is that when David had Ellie locked up or something like that? I was wondering if that's what that sequence could have been potentially. I am curious, are we going to get even more with Tess's background? Because obviously the time you spend with Tess is the time you spend with Tess, and you never really got to know her much. But there was a sequence where I don't know, I couldn't tell if that was the same actress or not who's playing Tess. At one point, like, she has scars on her face, and I don't know if that's like an early days situation, because obviously there's 20 years that kind of got jumped over. So I could definitely see them like in parts of the episodes flashing back to like Tess stuff, because like we don't really know much about Tess and Joel's early, I mean, not unless that's something that's covered in the like part 2 that I don't really know about, because part 2 I have a blind spot with part 2. I've seen bits and pieces of part 2. I've never like gotten the whole story, but part 1 I know, you know, pretty well, I guess. So I just thought that was all interesting. And like I said, some of the environment shots and stuff they show made me go like, it feels like these might be like I said, there's one point you see the snow covered bridge, but like the only snow section in the game wouldn't have you crossing a bridge. It was when Joel got hurt at the college and you were controlling Ellie, and once again the whole David thing. That's the only snow section in the game. So I'm wondering, is that taking place at the same time, or are they adding new like extended sections there? So I'm so curious. Because not unless that's her and David and not her and Joel, not unless it's that. We see Marlene at one point in time, gunshot wound and everything. I wonder, will the Fireflies be a bigger presence in this story? I mean, obviously, like, because most Fireflies you cross paths with. It's like, not unless that's who Melanie Linsky is. Like, she could just be like a fire. That they could be Fireflies. I didn't even think about that. I was like, they could just be a group of Fireflies. Because most Fireflies, I mean, literally all the Fireflies you cross paths with in the first game are all dead. So you don't meet up with other people until like the very end of the game. So I would assume it's that. The whole sequence with Bill seems like they might be playing that a little differently, because we see Bill looking down a pit and has his gun pointed at Joel. So like probably that whole upside down sequence probably might not happen. Maybe, maybe not. But the fact is, it seemed like them kind of crossing paths, like, you know, when Joel falls into his traps. It probably won't be the whole the trap lines like in the game. It might be like literal, just like, oh, traps in the ground type of thing. I don't know. I'm curious to see like how much they changed that sequence, the whole when you're in the city looking for Bill thing. And there's also this sequence where Ellie's on a merry-go-round, geez. And there's someone with her. I was like, wait, so they're covering Left Behind, because I'm assuming, I could be mistaken, but I'm like, I don't remember the character's name. It's Riley, right? The other character from the Left Behind DLC. I want to say, if I remember correctly, I think her name's Riley. So it's going to be, I mean, with the storytelling being what it is, it's easy to kind of plop that in there. I could easily see that being an episode where they constantly bounce back and forth between present day and in the past with that episode or something, like, or maybe it's just a one-off thing, like moment between Ellie and Riley, and that's just all you get. But I could see an entire episode, like, I mean, maybe while you're like this section where you're controlling Ellie, like maybe when you get to that part in the story, like Joel is out of commission, that could definitely be an episode where you bounce back and forth, like between present day with the whole David stuff, like before she meets up with David, and even when she does meet up with David, and bounce back and forth between that and the past when she first, the whole Ellie and Riley thing. Like, I think that'd be kind of really interesting. I'd be so curious to see how they ultimately end up structuring the show because of that. Like, you could end up doing kind of like a Lost and Arrow, or even a Once Upon a Time, where you're like, hey, every episode, part of the episode set in the past because you're jumping back in time, catching up on some of those 20 years or whatever, you know, filling in some gaps, you know, even from the video game, or, you know, whether those are just going to be sporadic, like, oh, every couple episodes they might do like a flashback section, or maybe the entire episode would be dedicated to flashback. I'm so curious to know how they structure it. Once again, I'm losing my mind over a teaser trailer, which I do not plan on watching a trailer, full-blown trailer, when it comes out. This was enough for me. I'm going to put my blinders on to everything related to The Last of Us going forward, because I'm so excited about this. I know there's a conversation about, like, right, it's already a very cinematic game, making it a TV show. I think there's a lot they can really do interesting enough. Obviously, I am curious. I mean, I don't know if it's known what their roles are, but once again, I think Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson are going to be in it. In what capacity, we'll ultimately have to wait and see. But that's definitely going to be interesting. But I get that complaint, but it still doesn't take away my excitement of, like, man, I'm super pumped to see, you know, what's the same, what they changed, what they've added. So that's pretty dope. But obviously, these are just a lot of my thoughts. I love to get to know yours in the comments down below. What did you think of it? Once again, teaser trailer, and I ran my mouth off for so long about it. What'd you think? What are some things you want to see? What are the things you're most excited to see? What are some things you hope to see? Just let me know all your thoughts in the comments. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Until the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.